Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Dylan here, bringing you guys my NFL Week 5 Fanduel and Draftkings video. Now, something I want to include in the video before we start real quick is this tweet I got from a guy named Rated. He sent me a tweet saying, "Hey man, I used your picks from last week and I stacked Flacco with Steve Smith, and he ended up winning actually $150. I thought this was a really cool tweet because, I never really get tweets like this. So if you guys would like to be featured in my videos, possibly get some shout outs, go ahead and tweet me if you guys win some big money or, even some little money at all. I really do appreciate it. Now, before we start, just want to let you guys know, like I do every week, I have a Draftkings referral link down in the description below. And if you guys join and deposit $5, you will get free entry into the Draftkings Millionaire Maker, where the grand prize is $1 million. Normally it's a $20 value, but that's yours for free if you guys go ahead and use that link. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at my NFL Week 5 picks. Starting off at the quarterback position this week, I do like three guys in particular. That is Tom Brady, Carson Wentz, and Brian Hoyer. Starting off with Tom Brady, he is playing Cleveland this week, and that is pretty much the easiest matchup that you could ask for in the NFL. And he's returning from his 4-game suspension that he got for Deflategate, and you guys already know that Tom Brady is going to play with a fuel under his butt. That's pretty much what I'm going to say. But Tom Brady, he's going out here to prove everybody wrong. He's pissed. He doesn't think that he should have been suspended for those 4 games. And, at $7,500 on DraftKings, not even being the most expensive quarterback, I could easily see him throwing for 4 to 5 touchdowns and easily 300 yards on this Cleveland defense that was just recently torched by Kirk Cousins. Now, that is my first quarterback. The second quarterback that I do like this week is Carson Wentz. Now, this is the first time Carson Wentz is making an appearance on my channel, and he is playing Detroit. He is priced at $6,400 on DraftKings, and this is a very juicy matchup. He is playing Detroit, and they are one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. They give up the second most points to quarterbacks on DraftKings, as they are ranked 31st in giving up points to opposing quarterbacks, of course. And you couldn't really ask for more, guys. This guy's producing. His last game he had 2 touchdowns. The game before that he had a touchdown, and then week 1 against Cleveland he has 2 touchdowns. This is a rookie quarterback who is definitely performing. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to watch his games yet, but this guy looks like a veteran. Like, if you watch him, he's sitting there on the line making audibles, and his throws are just very accurate, and I do appreciate it. He has thrown over 100 passes, and he has yet to throw an interception. So, I really do like this guy this week against Detroit, and it's definitely going to be one of my cash games plays. He has 5 touchdowns on the season and 769 yards, and he's averaging about 20 points per game. So at $6,400, that's a very good value play, and I do like him. Now, the third quarterback that I do like this week is Brian Hoyer, and you guys may be wondering, why is Brian Hoyer in your video? Well, let me show you guys. Brian Hoyer has had 2 touchdowns in both of his last games, and he is currently filling in for Jay Cutler because Jay Cutler's injured. And this week he is playing Indianapolis, and they are not a good defense against the pass by far at all. And he is $5,500, so he's very cheap. He has 697 yards in 3 games this season, 4 touchdowns, and he hasn't thrown an interception. So, this is a guy that has thrown for 300 yards in each of his last 2 games. And, it's definitely a value pick. He scored 22 points in both of his last 2 games. That was against Detroit and Dallas. And Dallas's secondary is not that bad. And he's getting a weaker, softer Indianapolis secondary. I do like him in GPPs this week, as he's only $5,500. You could stack him possibly with Alshon Jeffrey, Eddie Royal, or Zach Miller. But personally, if you ask me, I definitely think you should stack him with Zach Miller. Now, moving on to the running back position this week, there is a guy in this video that has been in all my videos this year, and that is Demarco Murray. I have been telling you guys, I've been praising him ever since week 1 of the NFL season, and he will continue to make appearances in my videos until I'm wrong about him. If I go ahead and show you guys his stats real quick, if you guys haven't been paying attention, your mind's going to be blown. 25 points last week, 29 points a week before, 21 points in week 2, and 23 points in week 1. As you guys can see, he's involved in both the receiving game and the running game. He's running the ball well. Last week he did have 2 rushing touchdowns, and the week before that he had 1 touchdown, and then in week 1 he had 2 receiving touchdowns. Week 2 was his only scoreless week, but he did make up for it, getting 7 receptions, which is 7 points. He's catching pretty much every ball that's thrown at him. 2 receptions, 2 targets, 5 receptions, 5 targets, 7 receptions, 7 targets. And this is just a very consistent player, and the Titans are actually ranked the best offensive line on on the fantasy football website. So, I do like Demarco Murray this week at 7,200 against the Miami Dolphins. Now, the second running back that I do like this week is Jordan Howard. And let me guys give you a little disclaimer right now. Jordan Howard's probably one of the more chalkier plays this week because he is relatively cheap and he's going to get a lot of volume against Indianapolis. Last week he had 23 attempts for 111 yards, and he's almost averaged 5 yards a carry, and that's absolutely insane. His longest run was 17 yards, so it's not like he broke off a big one, and that's why his yards are so high. He did not find the end zone last week, but he was involved in the passing game as he got 3 receptions for 21 yards. So receiving alone, it gave him 5 points plus the 111 yards. Now, last week was kind of weird. I did really expect him to reach the end zone against Detroit, but he didn't as Brian Hoyer threw for 2 touchdowns. But, I definitely think that's going to change this week against Indianapolis and expect him to fall in the end zone at 5,200. Now, the third running back I do like this week is Terrence West. Now, this may or may not be a chalky play depending on how many of the fantasy guys that make videos are on it, but personally I think this will be a higher ownership running back this week due to his price. It is Terrence West from the Baltimore Ravens at 4,800. Now, he is the number 1 running back now that the Ravens have officially cut Justin Forsett. And last week he played Oakland and absolutely dominated. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry at 113 yards. You guys can read. I'm just reading this off the stats to you. He also fell in the end zone, giving him 20.3 Draftkings points, and he was 3,400 last week. Talk about value. Now, as you guys can see by the stats, he isn't really a receiving wide receiver, so keep that in mind when you are picking him. He is going to get most of his production on the ground, but he is playing Washington, who gave up a lot of yardage and a touchdown to Isaiah Crowell last week, so I do expect Terrence West to have a good week. Now, moving on to my wide receivers, I have 3 I like for this week, guys, and you guys will see more on Twitter, of course, as I tweet out every week. If you guys like to follow me, my link's down in the description below to my Twitter, so hit me up, ask me questions. I love to answer your guys' questions. Now, the first receiver that I do like this week is Jordy Nelson, and he is playing the New York Giants. Let me go ahead and pull up Jordy Nelson this year for you. Now, Jordy Nelson has played in 3 games this year, and he has had a touchdown in all 3 of his games this year. In week 3, he actually had 2 touchdowns when he pulled in 6 receptions for 101 yards. Jordy Nelson is the Aaron Rodgers go-to guy, especially in the red zone. And that's huge for fantasy players when they are a red zone target. That means points. And when he's Aaron Rodgers' favorite target, and you guys know that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers like to pass the ball a lot. I just really do like the matchup. And that's pretty much why I like Jordy Nelson this week. Now, the next receiver I do like is Julian Edelman. Now, you guys did hear me say something about this in the beginning of the video, and I'm just going to let you guys know now, even though it's a pretty expensive stack, Tom Brady and Julian Edelman are my stack of the week, because if you guys do remember from last year when Tom Brady was playing, Julian Edelman was actually his favorite target over Rob Gronkowski, and that's not something a lot of people know. He is a reception machine, and even if he gets you like 8 receptions for 60 yards, that's still 14 points, and I definitely think he'll easily get more production than that. He is a reception beast, and I would expect him to get probably 7 to 10 receptions, and I could easily see him getting 100 yards and a touchdown. And at 6,700, that's some nice value. It is probably mid-tier for wide receivers, but I think he will have high-tier production this week. Don't be fooled by his first 4 weeks. That was without Tom Brady, and the quarterbacks that filled in, Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett, really didn't like him too much. But that's why I like Julian Edelman this week. Now, the third receiver I do like this week is a budget wide receiver, and that is actually Cole Beasley. Now, I'm hoping that recency bias will throw a lot of people off Cole Beasley this week, as he is 4,300 playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals have been giving up a lot of yardage to wide receivers this year, and last week he only had 3 receptions for 66 yards. Now, in weeks before that, he had 7 receptions, 8 receptions, 5 receptions. This guy is a PPR monster. He gets a lot of receptions, and he's one of Dak's go-to guys on this offense. And especially if Dez Bryant's going to be out this week, I really do like Beasley at 4,300. He will give you guys the value of a 4,300 player, possibly even more, and he'll give you the money to pay up at positions like Demarco Murray at running back or Tom Brady at quarterback. So, I really do like him as a budget wide receiver this week. He also is averaging 13 points per game and a 4,300. Hey, I'll take it. Now, there's two tight ends that I mainly like this week, and those tight ends are Kyle Rudolph and Zach Ertz. They're about the same price range at 3,600 and 3,500. I'll be honest with you guys, it could be interchangeable. Now, something I want to let you guys know is that Kyle Rudolph is questionable, as you can see. Now, basically what they were saying is he wasn't listed on the injury report after the game, and that's good. But I'm gonna assume that the second one is the reason he had the day off of practice, and that's simply due to the fact that his wife gave birth to twins Tuesday. And I mean, why would you go to practice the next day? You know, spend time with your family. So I think he will be playing. Excuse me, and let me just explain to you guys real quick why I like this guy so much. I know this video is kind of dragging out, guys. I am so sorry. But, you know, I do like Kyle Rudolph because he is Sam Bradford's favorite target in the red zone. As you guys can see, he has 5 receptions, 7 receptions, 3 receptions, 4 receptions. But, you know, over time, Bradford has time and time again looked Kyle Rudolph's way in the end zone. And that's huge for tight ends. That's mainly what you're looking for, in my opinion, when you look for tight ends. You're looking for touchdowns. Because a lot of quarterbacks think their tight ends are reliable, and especially when they get down to the red zone, they're like, oh, I'm going to look at my tight end first, or hey, I'm going to see if this guy's open. But, you know, Kyle Rudolph, when he's Sam Bradford's favorite target in the offense besides Stephon Diggs, and the #1 red zone target, I'll take it. As he is playing Houston, I think this is going to be a shootout game where both teams are going to have to remain passing pretty much throughout the entire game. So that's going to mean more targets and more receptions for Kyle Rudolph. Now, moving on to the other tight end I do like this week is Zach Ertz. Now, Zach Ertz hasn't played in barely any games this season. You know, in week 1, he broke some ribs, and that caused him to miss week 2 and week 3 and week 4. But, you know, he's back week 5. He's been cleared to play, and this is the guy you need to be second with Carson Wentz. As you guys can see, in week 1, he had 6 receptions for 7 targets and 58 yards, giving him 11.8 fantasy points. As you guys can see, though, he was targeted 7 times and he caught it 6 times. So that shows me that Carson Wentz was going his way a lot. He thought he was reliable, and he was averaging 9.7 yards per catch. I mean, that really doesn't mean anything. But this was one of Wentz's favorite targets before he went down, and I think that against Detroit, which is, in my opinion, the worst defense against tight ends, I really do like Ertz this week at 3,500. He'll probably be more played in my lineups than Kyle Rudolph, but, you know, it's probably going to be about 50-50 on my ownership for both of those guys. Now, the defense that I do like this week is the Buffalo Bills defense, and they're 3,100 this week, so, you know, they're not expensive, and they are playing the Rams. You know, the Rams are not a good team. Case Keenum's, he's been playing all right, but, you know, I don't think he'll play too well this week against a tough Buffalo Bills secondary and defense. And the Rams, Todd Gurley, he hasn't been able to get anything going. He did have 1 week where he scored a touchdown and had like 85 yards, but I don't think he's going to break out against the Bills this week, because I do like their defensive line, and, you know, I really do think they're a good pick this week against the Rams at 3,100. But, you know, that will conclude my video for this week. Sorry I went long, guys. I've been really stressed out with work recently, and that's why the video was delayed. But, you know, it's all good, guys. I love making these videos for you guys. Let me know who you guys like down below in the comments. You know, like the video. I really do appreciate it. But it's been your boy Dylan, and I am out. Peace.